Welcome back to Is Anything Real in Paid Advertising, the podcast where we gut check the gurus, question the dashboards, and break down what's actually working in the mess that is modern marketing. I'm Adam W. Barney, energy coach, ad strategist, and fellow creative in transition. And today I've got a good friend on the mic, Dan Newman. Dan's a strategic operator, sharp marketer, fellow music lover, and Boston local who also lives just south of the Charles River. And he also ran a $5,266 ad campaign that resulted in dun 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 one sales call. Today, we're unpacking that paid media postmortem and why it says more about the marketing landscape than most LinkedIn hot takes. Dan, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Thanks so much for having me. And I'm so excited to talk about my failures. I have learned so much through the mistakes I've made, and I think it's important to share these. And I do so with as much joy as possible. So please ask me the tough questions because I'm happy to answer them.
I love it. The joy of failure is one of the best things that I love to get into. All right. So why don't we kick off? Give us the setup. What were you trying to accomplish with this paid media campaign?
Sure. So I founded Learn to Scale in 2019, and it was right before the pandemic. So I started on hard mode, I like to say. And I failed a lot starting a business. First time entrepreneur, figuring out the ropes. I come from a learning and development background. So I knew deep down I could learn my way through a lot of problems. So that's kind of how I approached paid media. I started with a few kind of test cases, and I hired someone on Upwork who I still talk with to this day. She's great. And I said to myself in basically the winter going into 2024 that I really needed to give it a good try. Like, I need to put dollars behind this. I need to put effort in. I need to bring in the experts, and I need to learn my way through this, because at the time I thought paid media was going to help me grow my business, help me reach more customers, help me refine my positioning, and really learn something that I was interested in and I think was going to be critical for my business's growth. And I learned a lot, but I did not make a lot of money, as you said in the intro. I got one qualified sales call through the whole thing, but boy, the lessons learned was worth the let's just call it the enrollment fee of learning paid media.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know you mentioned you worked with a strategist, got that help to design an ebook funnel, that design help, made all the right moves on paper. What happened once the money hit Meta rather?
So, I mean, we set this up with a few experiments, and we went with the intention of learning the key things to make this a viable long-term strategy. So we tested the messaging, we tested the audience, we tested the distribution, we tested the retargeting, we tested the copy, and all of those tests, it taught us a lot, but coming out of it, it really justified this kind of sinking suspicion that paid media wasn't for me. It was not that it wasn't for me because of me, Dan, but at the scale and the amount of discovery that needed to happen, is that it was the wrong thing for me at my business at that point in time. So it was an expensive lesson. But now, if I decide to go down this route again, I feel so much more confident knowing what I know now.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, I learned a lot. Like $5,266 worth of lessons. Like, how much is that in a college tuition nowadays? Like, is that one class? Is that two? I don't know.
That's 10% of probably an annual tuition, I would say, most likely. But I'd love you to walk through this in a little bit more detail, just for everyone listening here today, if you don't mind.
Oh, I'd love to. So I actually, because I'm extra, I did a lot of analysis of this. So I have a full deck that I'm happy to walk anyone through and say, like, and there's the detailed copy and what I learned and why people didn't click it. But let me see if I can throw up some key stats here.
And obviously, if you're open to it, we'll include a link to this in the show notes, and you won't have to pay Meta to promote it.
Absolutely.
The learnings. So there we go.
So let me kind of sketch out the framework for those, paid media nerds out there. It started with prospecting and retargeting ads on Meta. And this was sent out to a niche market of small business owners, marketing agencies, and kind of these thought leader CEO type personas. And I had cultivated that both with my own website traffic, with my own LinkedIn campaigns that I had run in the past and failed, with my CRM lead list to build lookalike audiences.
Yep.
And through that was to try and get people to download a free ebook. This ebook was called Drive Better Communication. It's focused on helping small businesses and agencies improve the way they communicate, identify some of the pain points, some quick wins, and of course, call to actions to book a consultation with me.
Right.
Following the download would be a drip sequence. And there was a 6-step drip sequence spread over 12 days.
Okay.
And then after that drip sequence, they got bundled into my biweekly newsletter, the TLDR.
Yep.
So throughout all of that, there were
Which
calls.
I'll mention I am a proud reader of also.
Oh, thank you. I love writing that dang thing. I mean, I know people get some value out of it because they respond back, but boy, it is so cathartic just to write a newsletter and not have AI do it and make it a marketing, complicated thing. It's just fun. It's just joyful. So, behind this, we had set it apart into kind of 3 big stages. So we
Okay.
had 3 big campaigns. And stop me if I'm getting too in the weeds because I learned so much about this. This is great. So we had that funnel overview. The first hypothesis was, can we get people to click these ads?
Right.
And, we use that to rework the landing page, the conversion criteria, the audience targeting, etc. And we had plenty of examples of graphics, plenty of examples of copy. And Meta, did exactly what it says on the tin. It shuffled these all together to try and find the winning formula.
Right.
That winning formula got people to click. It did not get people to turn into sales calls. I could give you the click-through rate, the cost per click, the MQLs, the number we got through that. That was $3,202 of lessons learned.
That's wild. Buy money, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is how the market works. You got to pay to play, because if you don't do this, you get nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was like, all right, let's target persona. Let's be really choosy about who we're going to try and send this to, and really cultivate the talk track and the positioning to fit that persona's pain points. And so we developed a new persona document, and we wanted to speak to things like stress, running out of time, losing control. And this persona tweaks should hypothetically outperform the baseline, the baseline of 3,200. And so we had a bunch of different designs and such. And I work with a very talented graphic designer. I still work with him, and my paid media consultant still work with her.
Yep.
And for $1,723, I got 13 people to click the link, but not turn into a sale.
Yep.
So cost per click went up. Great. All of this is brand new to me, by the way. Like, I don't come from a marketing background. I come from a learning and development background. So this was both very nourishing and feeding my learning side, but boy, was it draining my business bank account side trying to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
And then, I talked with my team and said, hey, this clearly isn't getting what I ultimately want. Let's try something kind of wackadoodle. Yeah. And, throughout a lot of this, part of the value that I was trying to offer was my training programs, my workshops, some of my services could be paid for by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts through the Workforce Development Grant, which, fun fact, it is open, and you can get up to $15,000 of free training services from qualified training providers, of which I'm one. So we thought, let's just say free. Let's just say free a lot. Will that get people to click? Will that get people engaged? So the hypothesis was ads that say free, free, free is going to outperform our persona specific work and our baseline.
Right.
And
because who doesn't like a free t-shirt, right? There we go.
Right? Download a free ebook to learn about free money and get some free education. Free. Download this stuff. And then I ran it all against the others in sequentially, so that they concurrently, and in doing so would then make sure that we're targeting the same segments with these different pieces of messaging. And this one, we really dialed back the expenses so that we wouldn't spend so much.
Right.
So ultimately, spent about $60 pushing the baseline, about $80 pushing the persona, and about $63 spending the free.
Okay.
And coming out of that, I mean, you have these numbers. These numbers, like the baseline would get a click through rate of 0.25%. The persona got a click through rate of 0.62%. Better. The free had a click through rate of 0.34%. Okay, better than baseline. But with all the different variables that go into this and the amount of money that goes in, what we discover is the cost per click versus the click through rate. None of these got marketing qualified leads. None of
Mhm.
these got sales qualified leads.
I love it.
So, like, all of these different approaches just didn't work out. This third attempt was just $200.
Right.
So a lot smaller, but the results are not statistically significant to have said, let's put 2 grand behind this. And being,
Yep.
struggling entrepreneur, I already dumped 4 or 5 grand into this already, not including the consultant fees and the fees for the experts and the hosting service and all
Right.
that judge. So,
Right.
I mean, the whole campaign together was about $7,500 in terms of the content creation, the ad spend, all put together. And it ended with one sales call, which was okay. It didn't turn into a sale. So yeah, that was the
It,
journey. That was the lessons learned. It was about
it's
6 months of work.
6 months of work. It's incredible that second to last slide in the deck, right? Showing the spend, the CPC, the fact that all of this work led to just that one call. It's a gut punch, but it's also it's so real, right? So when you look
Mhm.
at this now, what would you say the biggest lesson learned for someone who's thinking about running ads without a fully validated offer first? Where should they start?
I don't think they should, which is kind of like a bad recommendation is like, don't.
I did it. That
um,
works.
and I give myself a lot of credit for doing this analysis. And when I did this retrospective with my paid media consultant, she's very talented. I really enjoy working with. She said no one she's worked with has done this level of analysis and rigor on the paid media campaigns. So I think the reality is people are throwing money at it with hopes and dreams, and because they don't rigorously look at the real impact and
Yeah.
decide is that worth this ad spend, they might not realize that they just wasted a ton of money on paid media.
Right. Right. And I mean that's kind of the part that I want to dig into. I know you said it quickly in your deck, and I've actually said it in dozens of calls myself. Clicks aren't customers. You learned here how to get ad engagement, but that didn't translate to actual conversations, let alone sales. Why do you think that is? Is it about the audience, the timing, something more structural? I know you're also not new to marketing and you approached it like an experiment clearly, but do you think from that perspective as well that most founders get pulled into paid ads too early still to this day?
Part of my work with small business owners and agency owners is helping them feel confident in their decisions, because being a solopreneur or an early stage entrepreneur in going into this whole world is so intimidating, and you
Mhm.
don't know what works, you don't know what doesn't work, you don't know what's good, you don't know what's normal. And, through this experiment, I learned what's normal. And what's normal is I need to be ready to put 10K behind a marketing campaign and a lot of time and a lot of expertise to get the type of results that I think would happen, if I kept
Yep.
at this a lot longer.
Right.
And that is an expensive, business development strategy for a small scale, entrepreneur that has a million other things to do.
Right.
And the paid media landscape makes it seem so easy. Just upload a graphic. The AI will come up with prompts. But at the end of the day, like, you really got to know your stuff. You really have to have a value offering that is clearly communicated. You've got to have a market that you've proven is hungry for this type of work.
Yep.
I mean, how many grant customers did I get out of this? None. How many grant customers do I generally get? Not too many, because the
Mm,
grants are just not well known and people don't understand what they're for, and they
right.
don't realize that they could take advantage of it. So I have decided to walk more away from that because the market isn't ready for it.
Yeah.
And me as a solo, a small business owner, I'm not going to convince the market. I'm not going to have enough ad dollars to convince the market that they
Right.
should chase this.
Right. Right. I know, something else that we also kind of zooming out, people want to shift in how they connect, both online and offline. And I know you've also talked, Dan, about a pivot away from broadcast marketing and toward more personal, direct, one-to-one outreach. What's
Mhm.
resonating with you in this journey about that model right now?
So if you take all those dollars and put it into hours and sweat equity, that's a more, I guess, digestible marketing expense.
Okay.
And so spending the time doing, the LinkedIn outreach, doing the cold calls, doing the cold emails, it takes time, it takes work, and it takes discipline. And boy, do I hate it, but it does work. It
The
does work.
grind. The grind works, right?
It works better than, several $1,000s handed over to Meta.
Hmm.
And while I feel like I was enriched through this process, my business was not.
Right.
And while I like to think that I am the reflection of the business, the reality is my business needs a winning strategy.
Right.
And the winningest strategy is the outbound. It's the, building those network connections,
Yep.
making yourself extremely referable
Right.
so that other people in your network can, get your name out there and get that brand awareness.
Right.
And of course, volunteering with different organizations really is a very low cost in terms of dollars, high cost
Yeah.
in terms of time, but meaningful way of building relationships and growing your network.
I love it. And I know we both work in ways that are designing something more sustainable, both from an emotional, financial, as well as an energy level standpoint. What do you think the next wave of marketing looks like for small businesses trying to grow without facing that burnout?
I think it's not buying into the hype around everything AI, because I have already seen it and you have too,
Yep.
is all the marketing zhuzh saying now you got to game the AI systems as
Right.
if, a small business is really going to win on SEO. No. If you're a small business, if you're under $500,000 in annual recurring revenue, you are not going to just win SEO and you're not going to win in the AI race.
That's a
You're
great.
going to win through your personal relationships, through the sweat equity of the outreach, the, cringeworthy, social media posts. Like, yeah, it kind of works. And so I think, if you, or, if I'm going to speak to future me,
Sure.
I would want to continue the type of effort of doing the outreach, being really authentic in who I am, and nurturing my long term relationships. I think that is what gets businesses up to that, say, 500,000 ARR mark. And then once you're at 500,000, when you've got a clear product, you have a clear service, you have a clear operating system, you know how to make money, you know what it takes to get these sales, that's when paid media can amplify it.
Boom.
That's my hot take.
Boom. Drop that mic, right? Dan, this was such a refreshing look at the real cost of playing the paid ad game, especially when you're bootstrapping and still in that validation phase. Where can people find you or learn to scale if they want to connect or swap marketing war stories?
I am always down to talk about failures, as as is clear. So you can always find me on LinkedIn. That's probably my social network of choice. And my website is learntoscale.us. And I have all of the collateral that I used for this whole ebook campaign up there for people to download, including the, agency focused communication ebook, which drove a lot of the more successful downloads after this campaign.
Incredible. And then finally, if someone say handed you a $5,000 budget right now and said, help me grow, would you ever put that money back into ads or would you go a different route entirely?
I think if I had a $5,000 budget and that's it, like, do I have my other marketing budget and my other marketing resources, or it's just
Say
$5,000 to
say
make
five
magic?
$5,000 just falls out of the sky, right? Or you find it on the sidewalk.
I think what I would do is I would use it to compete on Google right now, because I think a lot of the AI overviews are demolishing, my own SEO presence. So I think that would help offset some of the reduced search traffic. And I would also put some of those dollars towards sponsoring events or being at conferences that are relevant to my niche, which is small marketing
I
agencies.
love it. I
I
love
think
it.
that's going to be way better.
That those get your face and voice out there, which is incredibly powerful. And I think that's a great summation on the learnings here from this. So I love it, Dan.
All right. Well, thanks so much. It was really fun chatting with you about this and sharing my failures to the world, because I think failure is such a delicious topic.
And it also lifts everyone up. So I really appreciate it. All right. This has been Is Anything Real in Paid Advertising, the podcast where we skip the fluff and get into what actually works. If you love Dan's transparency, send this episode to a founder who's considering running their first campaign. You might just save them $5,000 in a panic attack. Subscribe, leave a review. See you next time. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Adam.
Scaling fast, but who's flying the rocket? If you're a VC-backed founder, 7 to 8 figure operator, or executive team scaling fast but heading toward burnout, I help you rebuild your energy system, reclaim 10 to 20 hours a week, and lead with clarity, stamina, and execution energy. 2 seats open now. DM me recalibration or go to adamwbarney.com to lock in a clarity call. Clarity over chaos, always.